Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, Alicia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Doing well. Thank you for
Excellent, excellent.
asking.
Everyone, I'm so glad you're here. This is the first time I've ever done a show on a Sunday live, but I think it's okay because we have excellent replays, and this is a time when not everyone's trying to rush home from work or on the drives between, right? I
Hmm.
think it's a kind of a sweet spot right now. But
Yes, I agree.
I'm glad you could join us tonight, Alicia. So
Yes.
everyone, welcome. I am Jaime Pina. This is Alicia Thomas. This way. This is Alicia Thomas, my guest for today. And if you found yourself here for the first time, this is the CyberGansters Cybersecurity, right? And what I do here is, as a fellow learner of all things cybersecurity, specifically in the GRC and PCI realm, I have broadened my horizons to figure out what else is out there. And in doing so, I've met a lot of interesting people and continue to invite them on to help others of us learn from them as well. I think there's a lot of information out there for everyone to learn from. And
Hmm.
it was so funny, Alicia. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Alicia. Before I do that, someone asked me to go look for someone. I went to look for their name and I found them one day and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave the LinkedIn here and then I'll come back to it so I know to reach out to them the next day. And the next day I woke up, I found this person's LinkedIn on my screen and I was like, ooh, and I slept. So I forgot stuff. Okay. And I saw this person's LinkedIn and I was like, their credentials are insane. I was like, they're in DEI and they're education centered and they want cybersecurity and STEM and all this stuff. And I was just like, I need to invite this person on my show. I don't know who they are. And so I messaged them. And then through just regular conversation, turns out that Alicia was the person I was originally looking for, but you had just changed your LinkedIn information that very day or the next day,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah,
And
I
so
did.
it looked very different than when I originally looked at it. And
Hmm.
so it was so funny that it was, but I was like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known, Alicia, that I was looking for you until. So I'm glad you were the right slash wrong person I was looking for,
Right.
also, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
that's how life works sometimes.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does. So, I mentioned a couple of things of what you do, but why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Alicia Thomas. I am an educator. I've been in the classroom for about 15 years, teaching CTE courses. And along the way, I have always been interested in technology. I happened to stumble upon an interest in cybersecurity, and I realized that a lot of those things that you know fall under the umbrella of cybersecurity, I had already been doing all the time. So, password security, changing passwords, teaching my students about internet safety, all those things. And so, I was very intrigued um, about keeping the digital world safe, especially for my students because I have kids myself. So, what happened was I actually started, joining programs, getting certifications, not anything like the Security Plus or anything like that, but just general things that were free to gain knowledge and a background. And so, I decided that I had been applying for jobs a lot. Every year I would apply for a job in technology.
Okay.
And I saw, you always see the posts that say that we're looking for minorities, we're looking for, blacks and females because we have so many jobs in cybersecurity. And so I had been applying. I apply, I take a course, I apply, add some more things to my resume, still nothing. So I love teaching, I love education, but I want to do more outside of the classroom. So I was like, well, let's just see if we can marry the two. And so that's when I decided that I was going to start a consulting firm and use that knowledge that I have and train educators in school districts about cybersecurity awareness. So that's where we are today.
There's a couple of comments before we do that. I just want to say I'm really excited about you as my guest today because you have touched on so many things that I think many of us wrestle with at times, Alicia. Like I think like you talked about like being interested and that interest motivated you to do something. You talked about certifications, you talked about being free, and that's something we're going to talk about later. You
Mhm.
talked about how the passion was there, and then you just did something for yourself, right? Someone I was telling my Discord today, I was in there and I was like, it was almost live time, everybody. I was like, come and join, I'm going to be talking with Alicia tonight. And then I found this post. I was looking for a meme. You guys got a little meme there, right?
Yeah.
I was looking for something from The Greatest Showman. In my mind, I was thinking, because that's what I want to do. I want to be the greatest, right? That's what I was thinking. And then I saw this piece of a quote from the movie where he says, no one ever made a difference being like everybody else. And when you were talking, like, that's what I thought. I was like, oh my gosh, that's her. She is. It's not enough that you are talking about it, that you thought about it, but you made some actions, and that's so inspiring to me, Alicia. Like, I want you to know right now, like, the inspiration meter is like through the roof right now, because I'm like, oh my God,
thank you. Yeah.
That sounds so amazing. So I'm going to stop showering you with compliments right now, and we'll get into it. But before that, let me just recognize a couple folks here. Verna Thomas says, thank you, Hyman, for your time and knowledge sharing. Anytime, as much as I can, Verna. So glad you get something out of it. James says, I second that motion. Thanks, Hyman and Alicia. So, yeah, if you guys are joining us, why don't you hit us in the comments, say hello, tell us where you're watching from so that we can know where across the country and world you are. And so with that said, Alicia, so let's start chronologically. Okay. I think a lot of people who watch my YouTube are people that are in a similar situation where they were in their whatever lane that they were in, and there was something that made them feel like, I want to do more. And so they're venturing into this field of cybersecurity, right? This giant umbrella of cybersecurity, right? And there's so many little umbrellas under that and stuff. But for you, let's just spend a little bit of time real quick. What would you say, like, what was that tipping point, or that, what was the straw that broke the camel's back, that you were like, I've been in this lane for so long, I really want to make this jump? What was that catalyst for you that did it?
Well, so we'll go back a few years ago. I was always the teacher who wanted to expose my students to things that they weren't always seeing. And so what the things that weren't being taught, but I knew they needed to know, because I knew that these things were coming and they were going to be affected by them. So earlier on in my career, I actually taught myself to code because I was just curious. When I was in college, I wanted to do computer science, but I wasn't really encouraged to pursue it because it wasn't usual for a female to be in those classes. So I unfortunately did agriculture economics with the minor in business.
It's not funny, but you know what? When you think about the disparity between technology and So
when I was teaching myself the code, it was so interesting that I would find free resources and kind of fit it into my curriculum that I had to teach. And from there, I started a Saturday coding club for students. And I went on to sponsor a Girls Who Code club. I went to Memphis, which is about 3.5 hours away. And I was a volunteer for Black Girls Who Code. I think that's the name of it, with Kimberly Bryant, I believe. So I've always been interested in that, but I never could figure out where I would fit. So I chased this idea of getting out of the classroom. I really never wanted to work for anybody, but I was willing to do it if it was the right position. So even as recent as this past summer, I applied for jobs. I got interviews, but crickets. It wasn't there. So the catalyst really for me was when I was, as usual, I'm a researcher. I'm curious. I love to see what's out there. I was looking up cybersecurity attacks in my area, and my school district came up. And so I was like, this happened? I don't remember anybody telling me that our school district where I work and my kids go to school was under a ransomware attack. And so that was it. I was like, okay, I know that my school does not offer training like this. I know that there's another school district I know specifically because I've spoken to their director of IT. They don't offer this type of training to their teachers as well. And this is a huge school district. So imagine if one person was to open the wrong email and click on the wrong attachment, the wrong link, what are the repercussions from that? It could shut down a school district for, no time or for a long time. And that's money, that's time, that's kids, information being used. And, granted, a student's information is not that valuable. We might think that. But to a threat actor, they can sell that on the black market. You have social security numbers, you have the parents' home address, all of this stuff. So there's value in it to the people who are doing the attacks. We just may not see the value in it. So I wanted a way to be able to, kind of speak to that, because you don't know what you don't know until you put in a position and you have to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So so just a simple Google search, you saw that your school, the school that you worked for, had a ransomware attack?
I did, yes. And I just did this research, I'll say about 3 weeks ago, but this happened, I think, in 2021, if I recall. I was still working there. Yeah.
That is so freaky. It's a little scary, right? It's a little scary when you see that and you think about that time period and you're like, man, I had a friend who several years ago who they got robbed of. He got robbed. I know it's going to sound silly. He got robbed of his magic cards. Okay, these little Magic the Gathering cards. Okay, a lot of geeks know them, and it's good. I no hate on it. No hate on it. But when I say they robbed him, I don't know that these kids they ended up finding them and stuff, because these cards he had were like, he had an individual card, several of these, one card that was worth minimum $40,000.
Wow.
So they knew and were the safe. Anyway, my point is they go in there, they stole this stuff, and afterwards he would tell me, he was like, it's like a whole paradigm shift. He was like, all of a sudden you kind of just start thinking through things like, they got into my home where my family is and all this stuff. And so it kind of was seeing, I felt like a similar impact to be like, someone came into my classroom, into my kids' data and my data, and was able to poke around in there and hold it hostage.
Right. Yes.
Like, that's the weird part, is like, someone had this information that could have been crippling. It is crippling. But we did, as a university, as a whole, the school, they did what they did to whatever they felt they needed to do to get the data back.
Right.
I get that, but still, that has got to be a really messed up thing to feel and go through.
Right. Yes. It was very alarming because, and then later I was talking to one of my colleagues, and I kind of asked them, had they heard about this situation? And she was like, because she came from another school district, she was like, so you didn't know that our school district where I came from was, we were out of school for a year. We had to use boards and chalk for like 3 or 4 days. Yes, and it was along the same time frame. It's been within the last 2 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. There's some comments. So I know this woman right here. Okay, it's someone very near and dear to me.
Illinois.
Yes. She's just a few hundred feet away from me, to be honest. So,
okay.
CB the Great says he's there from Milwaukee.
Hello from Milwaukee.
James says he's in Atlanta, Georgia. Verna, she is in the United States Virgin Islands. Ooh, is this business or pleasure, Verna? Because I got images of Virgin Islands in my head. RB says Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
And then Dekisa D says, what is Alicia doing today in cybersecurity? So I know we were going to get there later, but I feel it's okay to, when the people ask the question, let's answer what they're saying.
Okay. So right now I have started a business where I will be training educators, going into school districts, training educators on cybersecurity awareness, DEI and STEM, because I love promoting STEM for the underrepresented. and security audits, cybersecurity audits for the district to make sure that they, at least have the basics. For some districts, it's very expensive, especially if it's a small school. But I think that the biggest capital that we have are our employees. And so if we can start there, that kind of helps lower the risk. So yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm doing.
And I am 100% in agreement with you. So every time those polls come up or a panel comes around and they're always like, what do you feel like is the biggest threat to cybersecurity in an organization?
People.
It's always people.
It's
And
the
it's
people.
at one point I would have been like real attitudey about it, been like, yeah, they just got to be, but wisdom and experience has taught me it's like, you know what, people don't mean to mess things up. They
Right.
really
They don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. You mentioned that earlier. They don't know, but people, regardless of the feelings, separate the feelings from it. The fact is that people are the biggest point of failure when it comes to vulnerabilities in an organization.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And it's for no fault of our own as people, right? Because some of these things that come up our way, they've just gotten better and better throughout the years.
They have. I did a live last night. It was really short. I was watching. Nope, I was reading. I was reading something, and I saw where this guy says that he's making money, creating these AI personalities, right? And so he's transposing AI headshots basically onto real bodies, and they look real, like they're moving and everything. And so all I was thinking was, I remember when catfishing was, just you put somebody else's picture up. Now it is so advanced that you can just catfish all you want.
Yes. It's so creepy, right? Like I'll look at these videos sometimes on Reels or whatever, and I'm looking at it and I'm like,
yeah.
And there's so sometimes I have a real high affinity with the uncanny valley, right? And so when I see stuff, I am like, for those of you who don't know, uncanny valley is when you take an artificial anything, and especially when it looks more closely to real world stuff. So like robots that have movements like animals or humans, AI, whether it be software or robotics, has facial expressions that look human. The more human they look, there's this thing in our heads that it's a gross factor, right? Like I can't handle the Lion King, the live action Lion King. I think it's disgusting.
I've never watched it because when I saw the trailer, I was like, "That's a no for me."
Yeah, exactly. And so anything like that, it's not even the story, it's not the emotions, it's literally just the physical appearance.
Right, I can't watch
this disgust of this thing in our brains that turns on a disgust factor.
And I have not seen it yet. So.
Yeah. And so when you say that, it's like, man, it is brutal when it's like, is my uncanny valley, is it going up or down right now? I can't figure it out right now.
Right.
And so they make it so easy. But okay, I am super impressed with that, Alicia. Like, okay, you, from what I understand, what you told us tonight so far, you being in education, and at some point you were really trying to make the transition into cybersecurity on what I would say would be a regular path for many folks, right? We learn, we attribute those skills into our resume or our CV or something, and then we start getting out there in the market and we really try to associate with entry-level positions or mid and senior level positions based on wherever our background and we feel like we can provide that expertise to. But you were not having luck or any success in doing that regular way.
No, I'm not. And, I got interested in GRC, PCI specifically. I do have a wealth of knowledge in FERPA just because it's the educational compliance governance that's for, institutions. But, we all come in contact with HIPAA. We have to sign that form when we go to the, the hospital or the clinic or whatever it is. But it's just general knowledge, right, that you can apply in cybersecurity. That there's a place for everybody, right? That's the tagline, and I believe there is, right? And being able to transition from what I'm doing into cybersecurity would have seemingly been an easy transition. But for me, I don't know. And it's not just cybersecurity, it's just tech in general where I've applied for different jobs and careers, and I don't know if I'm overqualified or underqualified or what, because I'm
Hmm.
not the person who will look at the posting and count myself out just because I don't have something. I would apply for everything. You're gonna have to tell
Yes.
me that I don't qualify.
Hmm.
So I just never got that call, or so I said, let's use what I have, let's start where I am, let's see what comes of it. So
Do you mind me asking, and if you can recall this piece? It's something that I always ask a lot of people because I think the discouragement from the market can be sometimes devastating, right? Because you really
mhm,
feel like you feel like you're doing a lot and you're not really getting anything back. And
right.
I'll be honest, when I look in the market, when I look at those job descriptions, there's two things I think of. One is like I can get tired of reading the job description. I can get sleepy reading a job description because
Right.
it goes
Yeah.
miles long. It
Long.
feels long, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they're wanting all this stuff, and then they put that nice salary range, and it's like is below, way below, and you're
Right.
like,
But you want me to do all of this stuff.
you want this person to be in charge of what again? All
Right.
this stuff, and so there's that piece to it. And then there's that part where it's like I want to align with an organization, but sometimes that fits with me, that I believe in the culture and the
Right.
work environment, but then you don't really have that luxury, and so then sometimes you just start, you just apply everywhere. I like how you I like one of your attitudes about it, about you know let me apply regardless of what they're requesting from their candidates. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like, I'm not going to tell myself no. I'm
Right.
going to let them say no.
They're gonna tell me no. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Mhm.
And it goes along. So, Alicia, a lot of the having the show and talking with many people in different industries, and have had the chance to actually ask questions to various CISOs and VCISOs and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm like, what is their magic rule to figuring this stuff out? And
Mhm.
a lot of them say it's more of a numbers game. It honestly is just how many applications are you putting out there, and you're gonna get for they didn't I've never been able to pin down a number yet,
Mhm.
but for every 80 applications you'll get 4 interviews, and out of those 4 interviews you might get two that take you to the second round interviews,
Mm.
and then of those two.
And that's very interesting, and it's very misleading, I will say, because let me tell you what I watched. I watched a podcast 2 days ago, and it was with Grand Canyon University. And they had a panel, and it was three, I want to say they were hiring managers in cybersecurity, females.
Mhm.
And they had a background, they had worked in cybersecurity all these years. It was a wealth of information and experience on the panel. And the first lady said that there's a 3 million job gap openings. They're trying to fill these positions.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, so I find that very misleading when the jobs are there.
Mm.
The jobs are there.
You
So
see them, right? Like you saying you have seen them. You can,
I've seen them.
through
Yes,
your searches, you have
right.
seen
They're
there
there.
are cybersecurity jobs in all various realms out
Oh
there.
yes, yes. There are jobs. The question is, what is the loop that we have not jumped through apparently to get that job? Because there's a loop somewhere.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, I just haven't figured out what it is. And honestly, I don't feel like I should have to continue to figure out what it is when you say you want somebody like me.
Mm.
So if that is the case, apparently something is not lining up. I am not
Mhm.
what you want. Even though I am a minority, I have all of this experience.
Mhm.
I'm crossing out everything. I got a check mark,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm still not chosen, right? So to that I say, okay, that's fine. Let me figure out how I can do what I need to do for me, because I enjoy this and I know enough to be paid for what I know.
Mm. And I like that. So I've seen that, right? So there are people who like yourself, where I feel like, and I include myself in that, uh,
Mhm.
on that side of it, Alicia. Like I feel like I know my value, right? I
Right.
know my value. I feel like I'm hearing you say you know your value,
Mhm.
and it's not to be in this prideful sense of stuff, right? But there are a
Oh,
lot of
no.
people out there who know their value and they're getting what they're getting.
Right.
Why should we not be included in that
Exactly.
pool as well, right?
I agree. Yes.
I'm in no diss on anyone or anything like that, but like I am not looking to go for a entry level $40,000 start off.
Absolutely not.
No,
Why?
no. And if you find yourself in that situation and you know your worth, then don't settle for less unless you've decided that, right? Like I feel like it's
Mhm.
okay to do that if
Right.
you've made the decision, if you know that it gets you experience, if it gets you your foot in the door, if this is a
Have a
stepping
plan.
stone. Yes, yes,
Have a plan.
yes. Have a plan. Exactly what you
Mhm.
said, Alicia. Have a plan. Do not make this be the, oh, this is the only
Mm-mm.
hook that got put out in the sea for me to get, and I'm just gonna stick with that. And then they're gonna
Yeah.
keep piling up all this work, but
Mhm.
that salary cap is
And then
always
they're
going to
gonna
stay below.
hire someone with less experience than you and pay them more than you.
Yes, you are worth it. So
Mhm.
it's easier said than done. I get that. But I do feel like there is that. And then the other side of people who I see a lot is people who, and it's so discouraging to see this, is because like you said, like I see bright people. I've been around people who I feel like are very bright, very studious, and they know some of this stuff as they're learning. And I've seen them go from blue collar work to they should be making 200,000 in cybersecurity, and their
Mhm.
knowledge is just incredible. And I'm like, but you're still not getting jobs.
Right.
That's
Yes.
so sad. I'm like, and
Right.
if I had a company, I would hire you in a heartbeat. You would be like this golden star. I see too many of these golden child situations. I'm like,
Mhm.
how are you not getting hired?
Right. And so again, where's the loop? What are we missing? Somebody is holding out.
Hmm. So a couple of comments real quick. So just Verna said she's she's home. So you're in the Virgin Islands at home. Good for
Okay.
you. Good for you. Shavita says hello from Kentucky. And then this user is Natasha M. I'm not sure who that is. Natasha M says hello. Hi, and Alicia. Hello.
Hello.
Marie says, what up, gangsters? And then Verna says, good question. What is the loop? What is the loop? So if you guys have an idea, because kind of like the whole wisdom of the crowd thing, if you guys have an idea of what you think that loop is, or what's that invisible barrier or whatever that's causing you not to be able to get into those fields when you feel like you've done a lot to be included in there,
Mhm.
put it in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If we see
Please.
everyone's responses to what they feel, what is causing that loop, maybe there's a common denominator or some new revelation we're about to find out. So feel
Right.
free to
I'm
put that in there.
interested. Mhm.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get there. Like, let me just tell you, I am shaking so bad right now. Like I've just been shaking all the, and this is so uncommon, but I'm like, I'm really encouraged by your story. So all right,
Mhm.
let's get into this part. Because I think this is a lot where people can feel um like just really wide-eyed. You, Alicia, instead of just like continuing the grind, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. Instead of continuing the grind, I feel like this path that you felt was this never-ending loop, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna just I'm gonna make a loop. I'm gonna make a trail over here that it is not there. It's not the conventional way that I'm supposed to go or something. I'm
Mhm.
gonna just go ahead and do this over here. I feel like that's what you did. You went and you were like, let me just go in this way instead.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a very huge thing. So tell us, like, what was some of the hurdles, or what? No, no, not hurdles yet. Here's what I'm thinking. Maybe you can help. This will help understand.
Okay.
I'm thinking, okay, there are those of us who feel like we're in that loop, Alicia. Okay.
Mhm.
And you did this different thing and you're paving your own way instead of trying to follow whatever's there, right?
Right.
What can you say to that? Because there's people out here who may feel like they're in that same loop. And if you could tell them from your experience, like, what was it that really helped you get to make your own way that could help them? And what were some of those first steps in the beginning, whether they be action or even kind of that mentality
Mhm.
adjustment?
Yeah,
to start doing those actions. Does that make sense?
it does make sense.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell anybody starting a business is harder than working for people, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, even in the beginning stages of it, if you decide that you want to work for a company and you have continued to apply and apply and apply, you have to decide if you're still willing to do that, because there are a lot of different things that could come from you finally getting that position. So you finally get the position that you've been, applying for at whatever company it is, and then the culture isn't right,
Mm.
or you see that there are people who are advancing quicker than you. So you get that position and you figure out that maybe that really wasn't what
The
I
grass wasn't so green over there.
on the other, right, exactly. And so for me, I just decided that there was a reason why I am not I've not been hired anywhere, I feel like everything happens for a reason. And while I have started businesses before, um, they weren't really fulfilling because there was always a it costs more for me, right? I wasn't
Mhm.
able to share information. It wasn't, this is my passion. Like, I love technology. I love cybersecurity. I love those things. Those
Mhm.
I could spend all day reading, or doing something that deals with that area. So understanding that, and another thing, there's a lot of educational consultants, right? A lot of them, and so seemingly it could be a saturated market. Who would want to hire someone to teach cybersecurity awareness to their educators?
Mhm.
Who wants to pay for that? But when you talk about the mind thing, I did have to flip it, right? I was like, well, why wouldn't they, Alicia? Why would somebody not want to pay you for your services when you know what they need, but more than likely they don't know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if no one else is doing it, you should go ahead and do it, because not only will you get to share your knowledge, you will get to help prevent cyber, and maybe, let's just say they do have a team of IT professionals in their district who are just fabulous. IT in our district, for one, they're so busy working on other stuff, they don't have the time to do this. If that's what
Mhm.
if that's what's written in the requirements for them to do, they don't
Yeah.
have time to come and train us. It's never happened. Never.
Right.
I can count on maybe one hand the amount of phishing campaigns that I have seen come through my email in 15 years.
Wow. Wow.
So
That is so crazy. That is so
yes,
crazy.
so they have so many other things going on that
Right.
they never get to this stuff. And if you're deciding to, figure out a way where you can offer your services to somebody, look at what's not being done. There's a problem there. And this problem for me was confirmed when I was interviewed for another district
Mhm.
for an IT position in their instructional technology department. And I asked the person who was interviewing me, I said, well, what do you do about cybersecurity? And she was like, well, yeah, we're supposed to be doing it, but we really just don't have the time. So if you're hired, that can be your baby. Now, this school district has about 30 schools in their district.
Wow. Okay. So it's
They've
not
been
a small
hacked.
fish. Definitely
Right.
not a small fish.
They've been hacked before.
Jeez.
And I had this interview with them this year, and so it's like there's a need, just like you have a fire drill, a tornado drill. I did a reel on it. Your teachers need to know, or your students, they need to know what to do in the event that I receive this email and I accidentally click on it. What do I do
Mhm.
with that? So you have the information that somebody wants. They just don't. They may not know that they want it or need it because you haven't let anybody know that you're offering it. Number one. Number two, you have to realize that you do have value, right? I'm sure you know somebody who you look at in a position and you're like, I can do that. I always do that. I saw
Yeah.
somebody facilitating this code.org, and I was like, I could do that. And so I'm doing it. I've been doing it since 2017. I facilitate for our state. I teach teachers how to teach a curriculum. So even with this, with consulting, I was like, I could be a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to become a consultant, you
Just
know,
just like that. You're
just like
like, I want to
just
be a
like that.
consultant.
And it was real easy for me to figure out what I was going to offer because
Uh-huh.
I know that cybersecurity is becoming more and more a problem. I mean,
Yeah,
it needs to be taught. People need to know about it
I agree.
because,
Yes.
and especially in education, because we use all these e-learning platforms. Our students, they're signing online all day. I know in my class, my students use their Chromebooks every single day, just about. Right. And we don't know
Yes.
what they're doing when they're not in I don't know what they're doing when they're not in my classroom. So who knows what's being sent, what's being clicked on, right?
Yeah.
And, and the kids are very smart. So we have, of course, we have the firewalls that are supposed to prevent the students from getting on YouTube and all of that. Well, the first day of school, they figured out how to bypass that. So I'm
Man,
like,
I tell you, kids can be dangerously smart
they
sometimes, right?
can, right,
But
right,
that's the world that they're in, and then
mhm,
and we'll touch on it a little bit later on. But being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I have I talked to you a little bit about it last week
yeah,
about just having the heart to really want to share how parents and guardians can protect their youth in the
mhm,
house from some of those challenges and some of those dangers that exist out
mhm,
there and whatnot, right? So
right,
I think what you're talking about, like that's why
hmm,
when a kid can get into school and bypass the security um structures in place to help
right.
keep them safe, it's like,
Mhm.
oh gosh.
And
It's like,
that leads to my DEI part, right?
uh-huh.
So we have these kids who can do that. They don't realize that's a skill that will pay
It
them.
is a skill, yes.
I have quite a few students. I remember one year I had a student. I was teaching eighth grade at the time. When he was at elementary school, he hacked the system and was changing people grades. And so that was a skill. He didn't know that he was, he had a knack for that was cybersecurity. That was white hacking, right?
Yes, yes.
Needless to say, by the time I got him, he was not. He was reprimanded, but nobody told him that that was a skill that could be used to create a great life for him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now this kid is doing doing nothing, right?
Man, it's so wild. It's so
So
wild.
yeah, I just want to share the knowledge that I have so that we can look at these things different because there's value in the students. There's value in having this cybersecurity awareness training at your school. All of this helps make the digital landscape a lot safer, right? It
Yes.
takes all of us. So,
Right. And it's
yeah,
not that and I don't want people to think sometimes where they're like, but it can't ever be safe, so we shouldn't do anything about it, right? Like that was one of
right,
the
right.
dangerous things that I'd always make sure to tell the parents and guardians back in the day. Is like it by no means means negate your responsibility or devotion to your child by, saying it's too much, it's never going to go away, so I just won't learn it. It's like, no, it's like
No.
we learn it so that we can
Mhm.
keep. I talk about it in these, not military but these action movie type ways. I'm like, we've got to draw the line in the sand and say we are not allowing it to pass this point,
Right.
even if even if these malicious attackers have a greater skill.
Mhm.
I'm not giving you the data. You definitely will have to take the
You have
data
to
from me,
fight
right?
for it. Right.
You
Yes.
yes, I'm gonna fight for it. And if
Right.
you take it in the end, then you take it, but I'm not
Right.
gonna give it just
I'm
laying
not
down
laying
on it.
down and letting you get it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I always think I'm like, like my kids are precious, our children are precious, our lives are precious. And it's like getting access to that information, it's horrible. It just
Mm-hmm.
does horrible
It is.
things.
It
And
is.
we don't really grasp the gravity of it because sometimes we feel like it's not touching us. It doesn't
Of
deal
course,
with
yeah,
us.
of course,
But all
of
it
course.
takes is that one time for it to happen. And it's like,
Mhm,
oh my gosh,
mhm.
it
I
is a,
think that yeah, go ahead.
no, 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 go.
I think that the connection between cybersecurity and our everyday life seems so far away from people. But when you mention identity theft, right?
Hmm.
That's a form of cybersecurity being breached.
Yes.
Um, it's the same thing, right? You have
Yep.
this information, you don't want these people to get it. So you safeguard your information as much as you can, right?
Hmm.
The same way you change your passwords, I know a lot of people do not do this, but when you have a new um, internet, um, what is it called? You have internet service installed.
Yeah.
Change those passwords.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
That's
Like,
very simple, right? We don't think about
yes,
that, but that's
it is, because
something
you just got to
simple.
turn over your router and there's the password right there, right?
Exactly
Or
right.
there's that little sheet that they give you, and then you just
Mhm,
slip that in the drawer next to it. And I
mhm.
know it's hard when you have to memorize 50,000 passwords for your
Passwords,
job and everything. I know, but
but you can get a
again,
password manager, right?
yes, get
Mhm.
one. It is okay to pay for it. It's okay. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go on the line. I'm putting this out there. I'm okay using Google's password manager, for
Yeah.
example, right?
Mhm.
I get it. Here's the thing though, and the argument that can be made for why you shouldn't do it is because if it ever got hacked, then someone can shut off everyone's passwords with a switch of a button. I'm like, yes, you're right.
Mhm.
You're absolutely right. I'm not gonna argue that. But if I don't do it,
Right.
that risk is greater
Right. Mhm.
than Google getting
Exactly.
hacked and getting the password manager shut off for everyone. It's greater if I just use password 1234, which is not any of my passwords to anybody, so you will not gain access to anything with me
Right.
with that password. But it is greater when it's those obvious ones, right? It's
Mhm.
greater. So yes, I get that. Okay, Alicia, okay, you you saw this opportunity.
Mhm.
I think this is so clever of you. It's so clever. Like, it speaks to your expertise in the field that you're in. Like, you saw, because first off, CTE, continuing education credits, right? Or
Career technical education.
okay. So, but you saw that the school could benefit from teachers learning this because they weren't learning it right now.
Right.
There was like a deficit for teaching the teachers about these
Mhm.
things.
And
You
they do
saw,
earn continuing education credits for their professional development.
okay, all right.
Mhm.
So you saw that, and that's where you kind of that was like,
Yeah.
that's where I can inject myself in
Right.
this realm, and
Because
I
it's a
can create my
requirement.
business on it.
Right. You have to have a certain amount of continuing education credits in order to keep your license active.
Uh-huh.
So this will be professional development. And
And so the schools, they're
right.
going to be able to call on Alicia Thomas,
Hmm.
and you're going to be able to bill them, and they'll pay you, and you'll provide the hours needed for the teachers in this
Exactly.
field. And this isn't a one and done thing. Just like in regular security, cybersecurity for organizations, this is
Mhm.
something that you'll, I don't want to say need, but you can
Right.
and
You can revisit.
should
Yes.
offer every year, every so many months, right?
Hmm.
It's every
Yes.
school year, and it's
Exactly.
every school, or and if you guys are listening to this and you don't grasp the impact of what Alicia is doing now, that is great, because it's not that she just went out into the cybersecurity world and was trying to just see what's out there and get in some, but creating her own space in the field that she was already in. That is the amazing part right now. So she found a way to work within the education system still, start a new business, and
Mhm.
provide a service in that, and make money for herself in that, and utilize her passions for it. It's like this trifecta, or whatever, of everything that is like, if it couldn't go the way you were hoping it went, it was the next best thing that you did, Alicia, by carving this out for yourself. It's super
Mhm.
inspirational. And I hope you guys who are watching this, I hope that makes sense. And if you don't understand fully, ask a question or make a
Mhm.
comment right now so you can get it clarified. Because this is by far, I will say, one of the hugest pieces of gold I have ever provided on my channel. Right
Wow.
now, Alicia is sharing her story, and it is something that I believe could impact all of you right now. All of us. I'll say all of
Mhm.
us. The information you're sharing, your story, Alicia, is something that it gives us the opportunity to really think, oh, I was trying to get my way into somewhere,
Right.
which is still not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. You can
It's
still
not.
try
It
that.
is not. Right.
But if you can figure out how to look in your circles and see where the deficit is
Mhm.
in your what you have to share with people, you just get a name out there. I make this sound so easy, and I know it's not. Just get your business name out there, and then be like, I'm going to charge this much, and this is how it works out, and you're
Mhm.
done. But if you can find that in your areas, what those circles are, I have a
Right.
feeling you'd be super successful. And Alicia, I feel like because this is brand new, right?
It
This is
is.
pretty
Right.
brand new
So
for you.
at this point, from idea to creation of the business took 2 days, right? So I thought about it. I was like, okay, let's get this business name. Let's form this LLC. Let's get this EIN number. From there, I just started creating content so that I could post regularly on social media. So right now, so this has only been 2 weeks. Okay. So my next step is to, because I've created my proposal, I have my contract, I know who I'm targeting, all of that. And so my next step is to start contacting schools so that I can, because the budget is about to change. They're going to get a new budget,
Right.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So strategic plans change. Our State Department is becoming more vigilant about making sure that schools have a implementation plan for cybersecurity, right? So
Wow.
I sit in this area perfectly because everybody's not going to be able to hire a CISO,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Those
Right.
they're expensive as they should be. So you can hire me for, a couple of $1,000s. I come in, provide 2 hours worth of training. I can come in as obvious you want. I have 7 different areas that I will speak on to your teachers, and I can come back every month, 2 hours. By the end of this, these are the outcomes you can expect. Rinse and repeat. That's it.
She said that's it. Not to make light of this, everyone, but like Alicia, that in all that, in the a couple paragraphs you shared, like there's still plenty of work in there. There's still a
Right.
lot of planning that has to go on. So it's not saying
Mhm.
like this is super easy. I don't want to give off this
Oh,
this
definitely
this
not.
R that it's super easy, right? It takes a lot of work and stuff,
It
but
does.
this can be things that like, so for you, Alicia, for example, you have already been working in the educational field, so there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that you already understand, and
Right.
it's not going to have to be research because you're working within your specialty, you're working
Mhm.
within your expertise, you're taking
Right.
advantage of your experience, and you're merging things. You're you know
Mhm.
Halloween terms. You're merging, you're getting everything in the pot and you're like putting it all together. You're like, I'm about to
Right.
make this thing come out. It's going to be awesome. It's
Yes.
like, guys,
Mhm.
if you can think about how that works out in your thought, maybe it's a way you've never thought of, because
Right.
these cookie cutters exist sometimes, and it's not bad. Again, I'm not dissing the cookie cutter way of doing things. It's there and it works,
Mhm.
and it can make people, it can help people get into the dreams where they want to. But
Right.
sometimes new cookie cutters have to be made, and if you can look at how that looks like in your area, like maybe let's say that you've worked in restaurants, and maybe there's something in the restaurant industry that you can provide that's similar to what
Exactly.
Alicia's talking about.
Small businesses. They're everywhere. They're popping up.
And
They're not aware of all
everyone
these
needs
things.
help.
Right.
Everyone needs help. I wish I could remember the stats, and I've been researching them. That's why I was thinking about this. But the few stats that I was looking at were about like how ransomware attacks have been going, where they go, who they hit, and where they're targeting. The
Mhm.
multiple times that they target the same organization over the
Yeah.
course of 3 to 5 years. It's just like some of these stats are crazy, and I'm going to do a video, cyber gangsters video on some of those stats. I've just started researching it so I can learn it better,
Yeah.
but just to show that with these numbers that are out there, they're just so astronomical that there are ways to help out, and many of these
There
places
are.
they just don't know.
They
And if you
just
go talk to them,
they
I'm
don't
sure
know.
Alicia, they'll be like I want to say dean. That's not what I'm thinking of.
Principal.
Yes, the principals
Mhm.
of the schools, just like them, it's like they don't know enough about this one field to be able to
Mhm.
tackle it alone, but they know
Exactly.
they need it done. And
Right.
so they're looking at Alicia and she's like, "Hey, I'm here. I've got this. I've got 15 years in the education business
Mhm.
and I've learned all these things in cybersecurity over the years and I can be this for you."
Right. Yes. 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 You
Yeah.
have the knowledge, and
Yes.
you just have to figure out where you can share it and get paid
Mhm.
for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's sorry. Let me look. There's a couple comments over here. All right. Shavita was raising her hands earlier. She liked what we were saying. Vernon says, "Thank you,
Oh,
Alicia, for the
of
inspiration."
course. Of course.
Shavita says, "You're about to take off. This is great, Alicia. I completely agree with you. I am
Thank
putting power
you.
behind that, Shavita. Alicia, you are going to take off. This is amazing."
Thank you.
Um, RB says, "Very strong leadership and inspiring to say the least." My brother, Clary Martinez is here, says, "Great interview. Just for clarity, no search that you had to attain? Question. Are your contracts designed to touch the entire school districts or schools individually? Are you still teaching?"
Okay, let's start with the first question. So, no, I have not attained any certifications. Um, right now, I'm completing a cyber analyst little program that offers a certification through IBM. Right, I just sign up for stuff, so because I'm
Mhm.
always trying to learn. Um, any honestly, anything that's free because the information is pretty much the same, right?
Mhm.
I just figure if I hear it over and over again, it'll become like memory. And so
Like
that's
must,
why I
yeah.
know so many of these things because I take the same approach. I will sign up for this class or this program because
Mhm.
I know that cybersecurity is it's the foundation. It's the same thing. It all hinges on password safety, um, what else? Firewall safety. It's the same things, right?
Emails. Yep.
Right. Emails, phishing, cyber actors. It's the same information. So that's what
Mhm.
I do. I read, and then at this point, I just apply it to K-12. Um, and we have all of that.
Kindergarten through 12th grade, everyone. For I don't
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
some of you weren't here at the beginning. Just
Yeah.
she
Kindergarten through 12th grade districts. And so
don't
with
want everyone to go look for K-12 certification. Some of them are like, "What is
oh no,
K-12 mean?"
there's no, or I would have that. I would
Yeah,
have that.
I'm sure you would actually.
But yeah, so basically, I don't have any certifications.
Mhm.
My contracts will be for school buildings individually, so principals because the principals have their own budgets, right? They can spend money and have consultants to come in. Districts are, they're run by the superintendent, so the superintendents have a say, and that just means if I want to work with an entire district versus just one school, approaching the superintendent is just a level up versus approaching a principal in an individual building. Yes, I'm still teaching. I teach seventh grade cyber foundations. Um, I've I've been in the building since 2009. So.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So let's touch on that real quick for a little bit. And I'm glad you asked that, Clary. Certifications can be, oh, what can they be? What do I want to say? Here's the
They can
thing
look
is,
good.
huh?
They look good.
They can look good. They can look good. Um, he- Here's my thought on it. And Alicia, I want you to share your thoughts afterwards. But I don't have a hate or love relationship with certifications. I think certifications are great.
Mhm.
Here's usually my mantra on it, so to say, is look, if it's free and you have the time, why not? It's no
Right.
cost to anybody or anything. Go for it,
Mhm.
right? Right. Um, And if you have the disposable income,
Hmm.
then go for it, right? If those three things right there, those would be my like, go for it if those three things are there, but they're not necessary in my mind quite yet.
They're not.
If I have an employer that will provide any kind of payback assistance or
Reimbursement,
a reimbursement or anything like that.
of course.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, so sorry about that.
it's okay. Look, I remember the 15 seconds. I was texting you. It's been longer than 15
Yeah,
seconds.
I was like, come on, what is going on? I ran out to go check anyway. All right. So yeah, if you don't have an end goal with certifications, that's where I tend to feel like, or maybe people feel like I'm not as supportive, is when they're getting certifications. So from my mind, I'm like, where do you want to end up?
Right.
Then I'm like, okay, all right, well then, go for it. But when it's just gathering as many certifications, I'm kind of like, where are you going? Where are you going?
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of my thought on it. But what do you say to it, Alicia?
I kind of feel the same way. I know tons of people who have certifications and don't have a job. Those certifications, um, they cost money.
Hmm.
And I understand investing in yourself, but you can easily mention all of your experience, knowledge, and skills in your resume,
Hmm.
right? Um, you're going to be trained for the job anyway, and more than likely, um, if you get in and you don't like it, you realize you don't like it, you've wasted that money in a certification. So I feel like if you are looking to get a certification, get you a job first and see if you like it and then pursue certifications. And in that, your employer might even pay for it, right? To reimbursement or just cover it for you, the training, all of that stuff. Because
Hmm.
most of the technology, most of the companies that I've read about, they offer that. And if you read some of the postings, it doesn't say certifications are a must. It says preferred most of the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
or it'll say must be able to attain, let's just say Security Plus within X amount of time.
Right. Right. Yeah. Those certifications that they really want you to have, they'll usually, I've seen that too. I've seen what
Yeah,
you're talking about. Whatever
yeah,
it is, they'll be like, please obtain it within the first 6 months, year, whatever time
right,
frame. That's a
yeah,
good point, actually, Alicia. I appreciate that.
mhm.
Yeah. So you guys, I think that's, feel, definitely share what you feel weighs on your heart when it comes to certifications in the comments. But I do appreciate the way Alicia put it down too. I think it sounds like in either way you go with whatever,
It's a
idea you
personal
want to
choice.
take from here, know what your end goal is. I
Right.
think that's the main thing. And whether
Mhm.
that's you go get, work in a job that can provide you some of that experience, or certifications, you want to start those first, talk to people, but know where your end goal, what you're expecting, right? And it may change later, that's fine, but at least have one so that it can help direct you on those certification goals. But yeah, free ones, I think it's okay. I
Oh,
think those
yeah.
are awesome.
They
Like,
are, and
well,
it's a lot of them, right?
yeah.
They offer them out. LinkedIn is a place where you can find out about so many different programs and just trainings that are offered, and they have the little certificates. You can post a certificate on LinkedIn if that's what you want to do. It's just about making sure that you are gaining the information, so that if
Mhm.
you do get that opportunity, the certification doesn't matter if you don't know how to.
Do it.
Right, right.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've heard a lot of this too, Alicia, but I attend plenty of webinars and roundtable calls.
Mhm.
And I just search them up. And now I'm to the point where people start introducing them to me and telling me, hey, we've got this coming on. You want to come and hop in over here? And I'm like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I hear from CISOs and VCISOs how it's just like they see those certifications and sometimes they're not quite impressed, because when they look at the
Yeah.
experience, they're like, where
You don't
did you
have it.
apply this
Right.
this certification in your work history? It
Mhm.
doesn't match up. It doesn't seem like it would. So I will say, and I know those are specific, but I would take that to mean that there are individuals who are in the hiring ladder who
Mhm.
would know where your skill set, they could match that up and be like, what,
Mhm.
what does the certification mean? I don't see how you got it. So
Right.
I think you want to be knowledgeable about that. And if you
Mhm.
are, great, because I don't feel like just having a certification means you know what you're doing.
I don't either.
Anyway, I don't want to put fighting words out there.
Right. Right.
So Clary, I hope that answered all of your questions, right? Are your contracts designed touch the entire school? Are you still okay? Yeah, I feel like you did answer those questions, Alicia.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
Clary, if you're feeling like there's some follow-ups, please let us know, and everyone else too. Um, all right, so I wanted to make sure. Okay, we're time wise. Um, Tell me what's next steps, or what are your looking future goal? Whether that be 6 months or a year from now, Alicia. What is your where's your drive? You're hoping takes you to next.
Um, a successful consulting firm, right?
Mhm.
This year, I have the goal of obtaining at least one contract. At the beginning of the semester, maybe January. I'm hoping because summer is right around the corner.
Mhm.
So I hope to have five.
Wow. Okay.
Right? It's also a goal of mine to eventually be able to hire more cybersecurity professionals who have not been able to find a job, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can, work for me and start training in your area, getting school district contracts. So
You're so smart,
that's
Alicia.
kind of where that's kind of where I'm going.
You're so smart.
Yeah.
How you're gonna be so successful.
Thank you, Jaime.
Like, I'm trying not to cry right now because
Really?
yes, okay. I am a big crybaby when it comes
Oh
to
my
things.
God.
I'm sorry, but I am so stinking inspired by you, Alicia, and I
Thank
think the
you.
audience is too.
Mhm.
You are definitely someone. I think it's because the relatability that many of us can have with you, right? And then to see that you're speaking things that are ours reality, right? Like, you're
Mhm.
talking about the grind and how challenging it is and how long, the time it's taken and stuff. And so I think those are things that relate and it resounds with us. And so, but to hear how you're making something happen, Alicia, you're making something happen. Like, that kind of stuff is awesome sauce to me,
Thank you.
So like, I am going to be doing nothing but hoping and watching with great anticipation for your blow up and glow up to happen. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
hoping for you.
Oh, okay. So with that said, look, I'm gonna here's a couple of comments here. Okay. or Berna caught it earlier. He's stuck. It's up to you. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but
She said it's up to me. Look, I was trying to get him back on. He
okay.
was saying something very important.
Oh, James is on fire. He says his conversation's on fire. Janae's here. Hey, Janae. She says thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
So usually, typically, when we get to the end of the show, okay, like I want you to come back in like 6 months or whatever, and you know when you get your I want you to come back in maybe the new year, pre-new year, when you've got your first contract. When you've got your first contract, I want you to let me know because we want you to bring you on. It may not be for a full hour, maybe it will be, but I want to just have like a celebration moment for you to shine. I want to shine that spotlight on you and celebrate with you and bring everyone back and everyone to congratulate you, and you just feel the encouragement and love and the support. Like Alicia, we're looking at you. We're like, if she can win, we're all gonna win like that too. Okay. So,
I'm excited. Thank you.
Yes. And whatever I can do to help support you in that, then you know, I want
appreciate it.
So definitely. Yes, Verna. Yes. And then James again. Alicia, I followed you on LinkedIn. Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to real quick. So here in a moment, I am going to hand over the screen for a little bit to Alicia so she can actually deliver her message. And while she does that, I actually went ahead and linked your LinkedIn into the comments section right there, right? So if you can see, I don't know if I put it. Oh, here we go. I'm going to put it in. Here we go. All right. So it is in LinkedIn and it's on YouTube. There is her LinkedIn account. So click on that. Go follow her. Go connect with her, and you know, watch her journey. Encourage her from everything. You know, you guys are going to be. Some of you are going to be rewatching or watching this on the replay, and we won't be here live with you. But encourage in the comments still. Go say hi to her and tell her what you were inspired by from her. With that all being said, I am going to leave that comment up. And Alicia, I'm going to give you the screen so you can kind of share your own message here for everyone, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me. It has been a very long journey, but I guess when I really enjoy something, I really enjoy it. So I had to figure out how to take what I know and, you know, serve others with it. And you can do the same. So just figure out the jobs are there. I really don't have the answer as to how to get hired, but I do know that if you stick with it, something will eventually happen. Um, I am on YouTube. I've been going live every night except for Friday, I believe, just talking about K 12 education and cybersecurity awareness in general. You can find me on Instagram at Thomas Cybertech Consulting. That's also my YouTube channel. So I appreciate you guys for inviting me into your community. I have had a great time. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on one of my social medias. And yeah, it was great being here. I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Awesome. Tell me, where was that again on YouTube so I can link it in the comments?
It's Thomas Cybertech Consulting.
I will post this. This is her YouTube, everyone. It's going in the comments now. So go follow, say hi there too. Make sure I subscribe to it.
Thank you. Look, it's new, so I don't have any subscribers.
You got 2 subscribers, so that's
right. Yeah, I'm telling you, I just started all this within 13 days. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Officially subscribe. Okay, good. Well, I mean, not good, but yeah, good. Alicia, it has been a pleasure having you here. What is this? My wonderful wife says Elemental. Oh, yes. We saw Elemental last night. It was a family. I had never seen that, and I wish people would have told me how much crying there was going to be in there. One of my daughters, she's sitting there, and when they start crying, the whole family cries. They play a game where they're like, the one of the characters was like, "Oh, let me guess. You try to figure out who's not going to cry or whatever," and they're like, "No, we figure out who will cry first." And it was like, what? But the whole movie, they're just the water people are criers, and I'm like, "I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry." They're like, "I failed."
So All right.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It was a great movie. But if let me
Okay.
warn you guys, for all the fellas watching, and ladies, you can tell your husbands too. It is totally, there is a heavy father-daughter relationship thing in there, and I was not ready for that. And I'm all like, I don't want
Element.
my girls to go away. I don't, like grow up and leave and go to, do all the stuff that they're supposed to. But I'm like, I know they're going to. So anyway, Alicia,
Okay.
I'm going to put you in the green room. Thank you
Yes.
tremendously for hanging out with us tonight and coming on here. Okay. I thoroughly
Okay.
enjoyed you speaking and hearing your story. I will be following you with great expectation and hope and zeal. So I can't wait till you start achieving your dream or more of your dreams and success. Okay.
Thank you, Jaime.
All right. I'm going to put you in the green room. We'll
Thanks,
bring you back
everyone.
after the show's over. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, everyone. Oh, so she can hear us still because she's watching. So I'll throw this question up there and she can respond in comments or whatever. But it says, how far will you travel for your services within your state? So Alicia, if you want to comment that in the YouTube or the LinkedIn or anywhere, Shavita's the one asking it, and I'll leave that up there for just a moment anyway. But everyone, I hope that you all were as encouraged and enlightened as I have been. Like, when I first heard her story, I was just like, oh my gosh, she's going to be such an excellent guest on the show. And I was already having chills from the beginning because I was just super excited. Like, it means something in my mind when people who are doers versus just, and I don't want to diminish people who are making efforts to learn and to add to their own selves. I'm not saying anything negative against that. I'm just saying it's super inspiring when I hear stories of people who do for themselves, if that makes any sense, right? Like, who are like, I see a problem and I'm going to try to make something happen for me. And that's what I feel like Alicia's story was. And that's why it's so inspirational. I think for many of us who are learners and working to get into different fields of places we've never been into, it can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? It can feel very daunting, very there's a lot of pressure. There's it can just feel insurmountable at times. And hearing a story, especially like also hearing Daniel's story last week, right? And then hearing Alicia's story this week, it's just been like, there's some victories, and I want this fire in us. Sometimes we just, that fire starts to diminish and we get discouraged, and our realities that are happening can make us feel like, man, are we making the right choices? Did we make the right decisions? And so when we hear these stories of people who are just regular people like us, I feel like it helps that fire burn brighter. And it's like, okay. And so if you find yourself in a spot where that fire is diminishing a little bit, I hope that tonight will help fan that flame larger. You know what I'm saying? I hope that you'll see that it's okay to travel down the road to figure out where you want to go to next. But if you feel like you need to make your own road to make it work, then that's okay as well. All right. Anyway, like I said, go check out Alicia's website or her YouTube. Check out her LinkedIn. Both of the links are in the comments. Make sure you drop by over there, tell her hello, encourage her, ask her questions for any advice that you're wanting. And if you feel like there's a topic we can cover on the show in the future, let me know, or introduce yourself to me or to others. Tomorrow night, I'll be back actually at 6 p.m. Central Time. I have someone who's going to come on and they're going to be talking about threat modeling, and they're going to be using the example of the Death Star. Okay, so it'll be really fun to see a Star Wars reference on threat modeling and what that looks like in the coding world, but it can be applied much more larger than just the coding world. And so I hope you'll come and hang out with Audrey and I tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central Time, as we discuss threat modeling. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you have a good night, and we will see you next time here. Okay. Got to find the outro. There it is. Good night, everyone.